Greetings, my dears. Welcome to this video. It has been so freaking long since I have seen you. I'm so excited. I feel renewed, refreshed. I feel, yeah, excited. I'm so excited to finally be back. As you can see, we're doing something a little bit different. It's been a long time since I've done like a face cam a video, and that's something that I want to do more of in the future. But yeah, so for today's video, we're gonna take a little bit of a, what did I write here? A winding road. Talking life update, more so seasonal energy and chat, and some of the decks that I've been using, as well as hopefully maybe I'll have a little bit of like a question or prompt or spread at the end. Maybe that's a little ambitious, but we shall see. I really just want to talk to you all, update you all on what's been going on, the decks that I've been using, and just have a chat. So grab a cup of tea. I have some tea here. I have a, what do they call? A raw pu'er tea that I've had for quite a long time that I'm finally at the end of. And I'm so excited. But yeah, grab a cup of tea, get cozy, because I think we're gonna have a little bit of a long chat. You know already how long this video is gonna be. I don't. Let's hope we can get through all of the things that I want to chat about and all the decks that I want to chat about. So yeah, let me brew up a cup, another round, and then I'll be right back. Oh, I forgot to show you the liquor. Quite dark, quite beautiful. My first brew definitely singed my tongue just a little. Oh my god. Okay, so first things first, I want to talk about the title of this video, Studium and Punctum. I don't know where I've put it, if it's like the first part of the title, the second part of the title, if it's part of the thumbnail, who knows. Is my skin dry? I don't know. But Studium and Punctum. So years ago when I was in college, I took an autobiographical writing course. It was about the personal essay, which I highly recommend you look up. And there's a book by, I want to say Philip Lopate. I don't know if that's how you pronounce their name, but it's called The Art of the Personal Essay. I think that's what it's called. I have it in my bedroom right now because I decided to read some essays. But sometimes they'd be quite long and I'd be getting a little overwhelmed. But that's a story for another day. But I took this autobiographical writing course, and it was definitely a highlight of my life as far as like my education and my writing practice. Oh my god, the birds are chirping. Hey guys. Some sparrows by my window. And some lawn mowing and some good tea. Anyway, so one thing that we learned, and as far as I can remember it, I'm going to tell you sort of the background of it in a second, but as far as I remember it, Studium and Punctum were, the Studium was kind of like the broader topic that you were covering, the thing that you were talking about. So one of my essays I wrote about my mom, and it's funny, the other essay I wrote about my brother, but so this essay I had written about my mom, and it was about this experience, about, us going to this location, and kind of the things that had happened there between my mom, my sister, and myself. And so there's the kind of the broader topic is, family relationships, mother-daughter relationships, things like that. But the punctum is kind of like, if that makes sense, like if you think of puncture, it's kind of like that thing that pricks you. It's I kind of almost got a little goosebump. It's like that thing that is kind of the central thing that it's really about, that central emotion that I don't even know how to pronounce. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, and I don't think I could. I think it just makes sense. The studium and the punctum, right? And so I don't even remember how we like analyzed this with our essays or what we did with that information, but I just remember that concept really well. And so when I looked it up, I couldn't find anything. I mean, granted, I didn't do like an intense study or anything or research, but I did a bit of a Google search on this concept of studium and punctum, which I probably should have had pulled up. It apparently is a photography concept. And so the Latin word studium means study, zeal, or dedication. So it refers to the photograph's intention and the elements of an image that initially draw the viewer. So the viewer can determine the studium of a photograph with their logical, intellectual mind. Studium can include the cultural, linguistic, and political interpretation of a photograph. It's what causes us to like a picture, but not necessarily remember it. And so the punctum, the Latin word for punctum, means puncture or wound. It refers to the small, distinct point that's an incidental but personally poignant detail in a photograph. The elements of punctum penetrate the studium and have the ability to move the viewer in a deep and emotional way. It's that bit of rare detail that causes us to love a photo instead of merely liking it. Punctum can be an idea, an emotion, or a physical object. It's private meaning that's unrelated to any cultural code. Well said. Apparently, it was, I guess, coined or described by Roland Barthes. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but a book that was published in 1980 called Camera Lucida, Thoughts on Photography. Yeah, so this concept has just been living in my head rent-free for years. And so I think what I want to do, I think what I want to do is start a bit of a series on this, talking about, like, I don't know, updates, decks I've been using, kind of where my practice is at, and just sort of an update, a seasonal energy encapsulation, and kind of see over time. I've said this before, and I did this nothing's recent. I did a video about my practice months and months ago, and so this is a continuation of that, but now I feel like I have a sort of like energetic container that I'm holding this update and conversation within. So with that being said, hopefully that'll make sense to you. Hopefully you're in for the ride. Let's talk about the energy of the season. So, okay, so it's summer. It's mid-June. A lot of the things that I think, I've been experiencing in this season are quite personal to me because of my body, my health, and I find myself so much deeper inside my body, and it's really, really beautiful, and I'm really, really grateful for it. But one thing that I've talked to my QPP about, which is that the more in tune you become with your body, sort of the more intense and the harder it is to ignore, big emotion, pain, things like that. Like, they tend to take up more space in your life because you're attuned to them. Your body isn't kind of covering them for you and hiding them for you and sort of transmuting them into like other things that are unclear and like foggy and not great. Now they're sort of clearer and they demand your attention more. And so it's a beautiful thing, but it's sometimes really frustrating and fucking hard because you're like, I really wish I could ignore this, but I can't. So that is kind of where I'm at physically, which is that sort of with my health, with my body, with my health issues, I find myself feeling the waves a lot more stronger and having to tend to them with a lot more attention and consciousness, which is so good, so beautiful. Like I'm grateful. But like I said, it can be so fucking hard at times. And I honestly almost want to cry right now because that's how it can get. But kind of one of the cards and in one of the decks that I will be talking about that over the last few days I have been really sitting with and have sat out was a card that I pulled on my birthday last year. So my birthday is November 17th. And so last year I pulled a card and I had been wanting to do this like birthday reading. And I wasn't really sure how to do a birthday reading. I didn't really want to go with someone else's like spread or anything like that, but nothing was really calling out to me or made sense for me to do. So, and I really wanted to do it with the Margaret Peterson. This deck right here that I have trimmed all of the borders and titles off of. And I will show you this card in just a second. I pulled this card and what I asked was, what's something that I have learned from my last birthday to this one? And bitch, let me do you see this? That's a hell of a card. Oh, it kind of matches. Okay. Also, you gotta have it. So intense. I'm not just intense. I mean, an honor, really. To say that this is something that I have learned from one year to the next is... This video is gonna like teeter on emotional for me because I feel myself just moved a lot, as I said. So this, to say that this is something that I have learned, it just feels like such an honor to almost be seen this way by the universe, to be told, to be shown visually. This is what you have embodied. This is what you have learned. This is what you have been doing. This is what you've been up to. Bitch, you're quite powerful. That's the mediatrix card. It's the temperance card of the deck, but it's so much more, and it has really opened up the card for me in a way. Like, I always think about the card as art and alchemy more so than more so than temperance. Like, I don't know. I think maybe the word temperance hasn't really made that big of an impact on me. But when I think about this card, I really tend to think of it as sort of the mixing, and what it says in the guidebook, which is all poems for the major arcana. I'm sure you know the deck. If you don't, highly recommend you check it out. It says the cosmic mixer. I'm actually gonna read it to you. I'm gonna read it to you because it's so good. Okay, I wasn't gonna read it to you. Okay, so this is my little note my little sliver that I keep inside the box. It says a card to represent what I've learned since my last birthday, and so I keep it in here because it's just such a special card for me. It's so funny how, like, one card just absolutely changes a deck for you. And I've been sitting with that card for 7 months now. Who knows what we're gonna get on this next birthday? I'm very excited, apprehensive, anticipating. But anyways, it says, excuse me, let me actually heat up some water really quick for my next brew. And then once the sound of the water being like whoosh, actually you can hear it, it's fine, because the water will be heating up. It's kind of perfect, actually. You are fire and water, the cosmic mixer, mediating between personal and superpersonal realms. It's kind of loud. I'll show you the card. Rainbow body, changing the 7 poisons into the 7 wisdoms. Cleansed you stand between death and the devil, representing the knowledge of measuring and timing. You are vessel and content, the ever-changing flow of life force. Ever-changing. I love that. But honestly, what I heard just now, and what I've also been sitting with, is not only a cosmic mixer, but you are vessel and content. And that paradox, that beautiful coming together of being the vessel but also being the content, I mean, I don't know. Some of this, I think, I'm not going to be expanding upon in a way that comes with a sense of verbal and articulable understanding. It's really just an exploration and explanation to you all. Let me know what your thoughts are, what kind of things you pick out, because I always find when we sort of share our stories, there's things that other people can see that we can't. Specifically in my case, I often find my friend, when we talk every week, we have a standing appointment that we talk, and every time I share something about myself, she always has something like really insightful to say that I just did not notice or see, and I always really, 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 really value that. So if you have anything to share, please let me know. If there's anything that you noticed, oh, it's gonna be so juicy, I want to hear it. What else? So I think let's maybe talk a little bit about decks, and I think that will also start to show a little bit of the energy, which I feel is quite dense, quite intense, quite not heavy per se, but more so just big, like large, quite vast, and really at times chaotic. And so I find myself trying to, and sometimes it's going great, and sometimes I'm a mess. I'm just a chaotic mess. And other times I feel this opulence of life. I feel it being so voluptuous, so velvety, but also really light, as in light and dark, but also as in like very like floaty, Fire energy is a big one, which we'll get into in a bit. Yes, very much. Oh, God. All right. Fire energy in a big way. Oh, my God. I didn't even count. How long was that brew? You guys tell me. I'll probably be able to see it back on the video. That was quite a long brew. I guess we're doing long brews today. You're supposed to do really short brews with this. This is, I know I've mentioned it before, and I still want to do a tea video one day, but I'm really trying to go about my videos in a very organic way. Actually, let's take a moment to talk about that, because, you know, one thing that I've been sitting with is my timing. You know, here we are talking about it. Is my timing, especially when it comes to posting content on here. I think when I started my channel, I really wanted to like make content consistently, as far as like I want to make a video a week. And then what I tried at first was like every other week, or, you know, here and there I tried this method of doing like every other week. That has cooled off quite a bit. Every other week doing a second video. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. But like it quickly became too much. And honestly, just the way that I am, the way that my body and my health works and my life flow, is that there's not really a lot of things, especially when it comes to creation, that I can do on a consistent basis like that. More power to, and quite fucking amazing to people who can do that. But it's not me. And I really, maybe in a future video, want to talk a lot about, or talk more about time and the illusion of it, and the ways that, you know, our current climate has pressured artists and creators, I mean, what we call content creators, to produce on a very consistent level, and not really having this expectation and room, which I know you guys, I'm sure you guys are totally for, but like generally speaking, there's not a lot of organicism and like ability to be in a natural flow, in earthly bodily flow of like, you know, I'm sick now, I'm tired now, my rhythm is more spread out than someone else's. Maybe someone has bursts, and maybe someone has sort of like you know, it's almost like how long certain planets take to revolve around the sun. You know, a year on Earth, you know, one rotation is 365.25 days, but on Jupiter, what is that? And so really thinking of ourselves, me thinking of myself, and allowing myself to take the time and take the space to learn and create within my own rhythms, and to also cultivate a community and a space wherever I am, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else, that celebrates that kind of movement, celebrates organic cycles and rhythms, and really makes room for them, and like really relishes in when someone is ready and able to share, and relishes when someone is ready and able to rest, and that creative process that is just so unpredictable and juicy and amazing. You know, it really is something that, especially with, you know, being neurodivergent, as they say, I'm still learning to get comfortable and not to feel some level of guilt and shame around my timing. And so, yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I know, I'm sure you guys understand this, right? But it's still something that I feel like is so important to talk about when it comes to creating in an online space. And I really do want to say, I've noticed, right? Some people, for them, it's like, well, I don't know if you're still making content. I don't know if, you know, sometimes you want to kind of trim down your subscription so that you're not trying to give your attention to too many things. There's a lot of reasons why people do this, right? Which is to unsubscribe, to unfollow people. I think it's great. I always say, unfollow me. Get out of here if you don't want to be here. I don't believe in like numbers for numbers' sake, right? But one thing I notice is that, you know, people will tend to leave when you stop uploading. They're like, all right, I'm going to see myself out. That's great. But for those of you, I do want to say, for those of you, and there's quite a lot of you, and I'm very grateful. For those of you, I do want to say thank you so much for staying, for sticking around and saying, I'm here for when you upload next. Whenever that is. And if you just forgot about me and you're like, oh, hey, where you been? Oh, look, it's you. I remember you. Let's see what you're up to. I'm happy that you're here too. Like, I just want to say I'm grateful for you. If you are here and you're the kind of person that's like, yeah, upload when you upload. I like your content. I like you, and I want to be here. And I'm just grateful for that. I gotta drink this tea faster. I keep not drinking right too. Yeah, give me one sec. Oh my god. Okay, what does this tea taste like? I'm probably gonna regret saying this. But I love that thing in raw pu'er tea where it's like that like dryness, but like high note in the back of the throat. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm not very good at like my tea tasting notes. So if you're good at tea tasting notes, give me some pointers. But there's like, this one I brew on like 210, really close to boiling, Fahrenheit, almost 100, like 99 Celsius. So like when you brew it really when like the hottest you can brew it, it has that like really like sharp note. Sometimes it kind of annoys me, but sometimes I'm like, give me all of it. I love it. But I really do like that. And the thickness is really nice. I haven't really gotten into, if you're a tea snob, you know, what was I saying? I haven't really gotten into ripe pu'er. Show pu'er. I'm just not ready. I got like a kind of like a lighter version of a show pu'er, of a ripe tea. And for me, it just tasted like basement. Don't tell anyone I said that. And it was just, it wasn't for me. And that's okay. But also raw pu'er was not for me when I first had it. When I first had it, it tasted like dirt. Don't tell anyone I said that. But, you know, you expand your palate. You try new things and you learn that something can be a lot more nuanced than you originally thought because you weren't familiar with it. And now that my palate is more familiar, you know, we love it. We enjoy it. Okay. What was I even talking about? Back to the topic. Actually forgot it. That's a J. Cole line. I'm gonna do one more brew really quick. You guys are so patient. Thank you. I don't know if there's enough water in here. I hope there's enough water in here. We're gonna find out. Yeah, there is. That was really hot too. That's like pretty much boiling. Maybe I overdid that. That's gonna be really sharp. That's okay though. Okay. Thank you for joining me for this little tea sesh, you know. Usually I try to keep the tea stuff like not too disruptive, not too much for you all, because, you know, you didn't come here for tea per se. But if you came for me, you came for tea. I'm so excited. Can you tell, guys? I'm really trying to be a little bit more open and expressive. Okay. All right. I don't even know if any of this is going to be in the video. Maybe I will be because I'm trying. I don't even know. I have not been counting my brews very well this time around. Probably don't need to brew that long. That was really hot. Yup. Hot AF. Liquor's looking fire. That's probably why they're so good. I'm brewing them really strong. That's why I'm like, And I put more tea than I needed to. I've got like 9 grams in here. That's a lot of grams. Almost 9. 8 something. Anyway. I don't think I needed 8 though. But that's okay. Sometimes I like it strong. I quite often like it strong. Oh, okay. All right, so let's move things along. I have about 20 minutes before this meeting. Another card that I recently got from the Faceted Garden Oracle is Lotus. I was recently journaling, which my journaling practice has had an uptick, and I find myself not coming in as much with a purpose behind the journaling, especially when I journal with Osiris, which, oh Jesus, I've got here. Yeah, especially when I journal with Osiris, which, the Faceted Garden is my main deck for that. I don't know why. I still struggle with this deck, but it's just the one. Like, I can't not use it. Oh, look at the cover. We've got a rainbow. Anyway, I'll show you the cards. So let's talk Faceted Garden. We'll come back to the Margaret Peterson. So I got the Lotus card, and it really brought me pretty quickly to Ta. And I pulled out the Oracle. Oh God, I always say the name wrong. Is it the Oracle of Doors Divination deck? What is it right here? The Book of Doors. Sorry, the Book of Doors Divination deck. And I also have Sekhmet's Servant Oracle. So I pulled these two out, and both of Ta is related to the Lotus. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you a couple of cards from the Faceted Garden. So this deck, I work with it when it comes to Osiris, and I have found in the last few months working with Osiris has been quite difficult, but only intellectually, not actually when I get down to working with him and communing with him and things like that. I find myself having sort of a mental block of like, or I should say I'm looking for a feeling that I'm not quite getting. And so I'm not getting this feeling, and I'm thinking, well, is this happening? Is it working? Like, what's going on? And that tends to sort of mess with my mind. But overall, you know, whenever I do connect with him, I always walk away from our experiences together feeling very refreshed, feeling like I've gained some level of wisdom and understanding, and feeling quite excited for the future. I feel affirmed in my path, and yeah, so our work together is always very beautiful and full of discovery. But I think, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the channel previously, but I felt like there was a transition this year, especially with the moon being my card, transitioning into working with Anubis as well. And for that, it's kind of funny. For that, even though this deck is quite multi-use, I think, I originally started working with it, or I should say it first struck me as a deck for working with Anubis, and that is the Ritual Tarot, which I have edged in this purpley color. It's so funny, I did an original edging and I didn't like it, and so I did like a micro trim and re-edged it, and I really love it. I'm going to shuffle it really quick before maybe we'll pull a card from here, and this will be our something, part of our studium punctum exploration. Part of the story of the video. Let's talk about the landscape, of this season. What does the landscape of this season look like? Whoa, look at that, you guys. Oh, that's so funny. I actually got the three of, this is the three, right? No, it's not. It's not the three. It looked like the three from a distance. But I will say I did get the Three of Wands in the Dream of Nile, which I'll show in a minute. So, yeah, I have a few readings that I have created with this deck, and we'll talk about that card in just a second. That is Strife. A few readings that I created for working with Anubis specifically. When I first worked with him, I pretty much pulled out some cards. Well, I pulled some cards, and those cards were the basis of our work together. And so I created readings based on that. And so I try every week, which I don't get to it every week, to be honest with you. I probably do it once or twice a month, which I'm quite due for another one. I think it was almost 2 weeks ago the last time I worked with Anubis, but it was really beautiful, and God, the journey was incredible. It was so good. I felt like I really started to, it was ancestral. And what I found was that working with Anubis is really very much sorry about that. My camera has a 30-minute filming limit, and I forgot to check the timing. But yeah, I found that working with Anubis is, which I love this card. This is the Six of Cups. Working with Anubis is very much path working and journey work, and he really takes me through the halls and through the doors of the places and things that I need to see, and the stories that I need to the narratives that I need to look at and explore. It's an exploratory process working with him, and you know, I've heard people say that he's very welcoming as a deity to come into the Kemetic pantheon with, and I would have to agree. The work is quite intense, but his energy for me is very welcoming and guiding, which makes a lot of sense for what he does and who he is. But, I'm going to show one more actually, because I like it. I like the dove there. Me and Dove have quite a history. But yeah, so for the landscape of this time and of this video, we have the Five of Wands, which is interesting because I feel like the Five of Wands likes to fucking show up, especially with regard to Thoth-based decks on my channel, my videos. Maybe I'm just thinking of that one video from Thothtober where I pulled the Strife card. But this doesn't feel like Strife to me. This feels like navigation. It feels like almost like what is it called? On the ship, when you have the wheel. But what we're looking at is the landscape. We have some like coastline, some little, I guess, deltas you might call them. There's a body of water. We have mountains in the distance, some little trees on the side. It's very tranquil, very reflective, but not very, what I notice is that it's not very simple per se. I mean, it's simple. It's very, straightforward, but it's not like one body of water, one coastline, mountains, but there's these little pieces of land scattered throughout, water that flows between them. And so I find that to be a little bit of around navigating. That's what it makes me think of. I feel like there's a lot of navigation happening, but it's not high stakes, as the Five of Wands isn't. It's not high stakes. It's definitely trying to navigate around things. Feelings are coming up, things are happening, but they're not the end all be all. They're not feeling like they're going to absolutely uproot, change your life, or you're on the journey of a lifetime. It very much feels like it's an important thing. It's something that you need to do, and it's something that will serve your greater progress, but it's not the great vast ocean. You're not embarking on this wild journey. There's plenty to see, plenty to learn. There's a lot that's sort of at your fingertips. That's kind of how I feel. I like that. Thank you. How do you feel here's the question. How do you feel? Do you feel? And if you do you feel like this energy showing up in your life? Or what is your interpretation of the Five of Wands? Or how would you interpret this landscape here as far as maybe its impact on the energy in your life? Very interesting. So let's go back to where are you at, baby? The Margaret Peterson. That is, for the reason of the mediatrix, I've been wanting, this deck has been calling out to me. As you can see, it's very intense energy, I feel like. Did I even talk about the Lotus at all? No, not really. That's okay. We'll come back to it. Let me know your thoughts on that if you had any when it came up. But I find, as you can see, with these 3 decks so far, did I say, is that 3? Yes. With these decks, I feel like there's a level of abstraction, a level of big emotion, really not clear, but not unclear sort of visual depictions of concepts and feelings. I find both, the Margaret Peterson is, can be very abstract and but it's also quite a journey. It takes you somewhere, it shows you something, and it helps you to understand things in a very roundabout way. It doesn't just say, oh, here's the information, here's the image, and this is what it is. It's not straightforward in that way. It takes you on a journey, and because that journey is necessary. It's not the information that you need. It's not just, oh, here it is. It's what you really need is the larger insight, the accompanying aspects and features and all of the things that contribute to what's going on, if that makes sense. So these are the decks I've been drawn to. These are the decks that I've been working with. Next, I think the Dream of Nile would be perfect because I want to talk about the fire energy. I feel very much so, as Malidoma Patrice Somé says in The Healing Wisdom of Africa, I see the element of fire as, I'm going to try to see if I can put the quote on the screen because I really like to say things verbatim, but I don't have the book on me. How he describes the element of fire is very much how I see it, because of him, which is that it's sort of the animating energy of all life. It is the pervasive energy of all things, you know. The fire, the element of fire is in it's the ocean, it's the river, it's the thing that moves the planets. It's all of the things, but it's also portal to the other world. It's where the ancestors are. You know, and when I think of tarot, obviously I think about our passions, our desires, the things that we reach for. But really, when I put those two together, it's really about purpose and movement and functionality. Oh, I'm going to show you one more because movement. We have the Chariotess, which is also quite a card that has come up for me in working with this deck. The Chariotess, the Empress, the Hierophant, and the Mediatrix. Quite a lot of majors. I've been getting a lot of majors lately, but maybe, you know, that's a conversation for another day. Oh, what did I say we were about to get into? Dream of Nile. So yeah, recently, as I was working on a project, you know, I do a word of the year guide every year. And so an idea that I've had for quite some time is to have guides throughout the seasons, which I've been working on. And I finally sort of like jumped back into like, you know, dedicating the actual time into getting it done. Look at her. Is that not incredible? And, you know, part of that work is coming up with spreads, and which is something I love to do. And I think I can be, you know, quite good at, and I'm still developing these skills. But I came up with a reading, and when I did it for myself, around one of my word of the year, I actually have 3 words this year. One of my words, which is bridge, which you'll see here, which is why I was, you know, really sitting with this card. I got a lot of fire cards, and so I feel like right now, we also got the 5 of Wands, I feel a lot of energy around pursuing passion, pursuing purpose, and really, I got the Empress, sort of like a cornerstone card for that reading. And so for me, it felt like it was around, you know, putting the energy into structuring that passion and sort of channeling it towards something, which, you know, we can look at the Mediatrix for that as well. Channeling it, but having the authority to know that it is mine to do and no one else can do it for me. And I have the authority and power to accomplish that, to hold that energy and to channel it. So fire in this sense for me has really felt like a kick in the butt in a good way. Yeah, what else do we want to talk about? Oh, and speaking of ancestors, I find myself all up in that ancestor work, which has been really, really fun and really what's the word? Illuminating. Very much illuminating. My battery is about to die, so I'm going to try to get through this deck really quickly. This is the Spirit of the Ancestors Oracle. This is a newer acquisition for me, but one thing that I thought I wouldn't like about it is that it's actually very much like majors and court cards. That's pretty much what it is. And I thought I would never like a deck like that. I mean, I have the Woodland Wardens, but I thought I wouldn't like a deck like that. But I do enjoy this deck quite a bit. It's really good. And one thing that this deck really showed me was that I really want to spend time. I've been spending a deeper amount of time with my decks these days, really reading through the guidebook. This one I didn't, but the next deck that I show you, and I think I have 1 or 2 more decks. The next deck that I show you, I really wanted to make sure that I read as much of the guidebook as I felt drawn to read before I ever shuffled the cards, which I haven't been doing a lot of in the last year or so. or maybe even 2 years. I did that a lot when I first started, reading tarot and collecting tarots. Of course, I read through the guidebooks. I really wanted to learn as much as I could about every deck. And, but with this one, it felt incredibly sacred, and it has continued. Sacred is actually a great word for the energy of this time. Very, very sacred. I feel like, like I said with the Five of Wands, it's still an important time. And it's not the end of the journey, but the lessons I learn now are going to serve my greater evolution. Do you feel anything like that? I'm really curious. Where does that sit with you, that idea of sort of being in the middle and feeling like you're navigating something, and even though, it's not everything, it's still a big deal. I've been wanting to get into ancestor work for quite some time, and I've been doing it in various ways. Not so much with cards too much, but I wanted to get a deck that was really focused on that work, and this one has been really beautiful. I feel really good about the work that we do and the work that we have to do. I really want to work with the spreads in there, which I haven't worked with just yet, but I think they're going to be quite amazing. So let me change my battery and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, my dears. For you, it will have just been a second, but for me, it's been a few hours. But yeah, so lighting change, a little bit of a shift. I'm back. I don't remember where I left off. I probably could have checked, but we're rolling with it. That is the vibe. So, I wanted to say, I don't have only 2 decks left. I have a few. And there are a couple of things that I almost forgot to mention. So I think what we'll jump into is the next deck, which is the Priestess of Light. Another more like newer deck. This is a deck that I've had my eye on for quite some time. But the reason why it's newer is because it's a title that I have begun to embrace on a deeper level, on a more conscious level, in a more purposeful way. So actually I haven't fully worked with the deck, but I read through the entire guidebook. Not fully worked with the deck. What I mean by that is I haven't done any, it hasn't been a long time that I've worked with it. I've had very few interactions with it, but when a deck enters your collection, you just know it's one that's just going to be there for a while, that's going to serve a very particular long-term purpose. This is one of those decks. That and The Secret of the Ancestors have been my only 2 new decks in a very long time. So I can show you a few of the cards here before I overbrew this tea real quick. It's very stunning, and I'm very glad that I waited on it. This is yet another reminder for me about the importance and power of timing. As much as I talk about the illusory aspect, I have been thinking quite a lot about Kairos and deep time. So just really thinking about the fact that things happening, when they're meant to happen in a way, which harkens to the conversation that I just had with my friend about agency and destiny and fate and things like that, which is another contemplation that I have been sitting with at this time. I've started to do I Ching readings as well. I should say, I've started to do I Ching castings, which I'm due for my next one. Oh shit, this tea. Wow, that has been almost the forgotten brew right there. That was really long. That's going to be a strong one. So yeah, I've really taken out how many brews I'm going to get out of this tea, because every brew has been so long. It was definitely the longest one. Anyway, but it's been a while. I haven't had any the last couple hours. I think I only had one brew with that. So we'll be fine. We'll be fine. But yeah, so I've been doing I Ching work. Very new, but we'll get to that in just a second. Interesting that it comes up while I'm pulling up this deck. It's because I haven't worked with it super often, but I think what I love about it is cards 7 and 8 are Isis and Osiris, and 8 is a very special number to me, and he has the 8 card in the deck, which just really solidified how important this deck is going to be for me and how wonderful and special it is. These are decks that I've been drawn to, not ones that I have been working with on a sort of deeper level. I would say deeper has been maybe the Margaret Peterson, Dream of Nile. What else did I pull out? I've started to put them away, so I don't fully know. I'll just show you the I Ching decks really quick because I don't use the decks for like my casting. I use the coin toss method. So I use 3 coins and then I get my hexagram from that. But I pull these out so that way this one's in order. This is the Tao Oracle, or I guess it's technically called the Tao Oracle. Let me just do it how I was doing it. This one's in order, so I go and find the hexagram that I received. And I actually have been doing, my weekly call has been a Spirit Keepers Tarot study. So we've been doing our SKT study, and we recently did I Ching in your sun sign. So I Ching has been, very much top of mind. So I have been working with these decks quite a bit. I'll just skip ahead so you can get a little chunk of another section. So this is the Tao Oracle, and it's really cool, lovely. And then I also have the Visionary I Ching. So this one's shuffled up, but this one's shiny, so it'll be a little harder to see. We're also dealing with lowering light, so I'll try my best to say everything that I need to say quite quickly so that we can get all the light and not miss out on anything. Can you see my camera? That's me. I'm not even looking at the camera, as you can see. But yeah, so this is the Visionary I Ching. So I Ching has been a big deal, and it's so different. The way that I'm asking the questions, it's so different than the questions and the energy of the inquiries that I ask with tarot and with cards. Rightfully so, it's a different system. But it makes me think about sort of my problems and questions a little bit differently. Just keeping them more open-ended and more wisdom-based as opposed to answers and solution-based. And it's exercising a different part of my brain, so to speak, a different aspect of my... As you can see, the word energy comes up a lot because I've been very much just interpreting and talking about life with that language. But yeah, it shifts the energy of the way that I look at my life. I wanted to quickly show the Book of Doors deck because I did show it earlier with Ta. Very, close and deep in my, this is the deck. I trimmed the white borders off. Gosh, jeez. So I trimmed the white borders off. Ooh, there we are. And so we just have this. It's such a cute little deck now. Now there's no white borders on the back, no white borders on the deck. And it's a really beautiful one with a really great guidebook. I really hope to get into a study of it soon. Yeah, lovely deck. Sorry for the glare, y'all, but life is life and light is life, and we be glaring. Yeah, such a stunning deck and great guidebook, which I'm excited to go through. Ta is part of the family of fire, so there's 8 families in the deck, 64 cards, 8 families, 8 cards in each. Very much I Ching like. I wonder if I could assign in each... Wait, I feel like there's assignations in there. I'll have to double check. I'll put it on the screen or in the description or somewhere if I do find out about that. But yeah, Ta is part of the family of fire. And so I actually wanted to start with looking at all of the cards in that suit with Sekhmet. Is Ra in there? I don't know. It's very interesting, but I remember I read the guidebook when I first got the deck. I might have to reread the whole introductory sections again. I didn't read all the card meanings, but I read all of, which there's quite a bit, and it's, a little on the intenser or, thicker side of, mental energy expenditure to read it, but I'm willing to do it. And speaking of Spirit Keeper's Tarot, that is a deck by Benabel Wen. And I just wanted to quickly show you this deck because if you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend it. It's a very talk about density. Now this is a deck of density and immense amounts of information, insight, and wisdom. And I mean, no words could probably tell you what I think about this deck. No words at all. Or I should say its function, its feeling, its, in a lot of ways, you know, the Prisca Theologia. I know I'm not saying that correctly, but this idea of the perennial wisdom and theology is very much a path that I feel that I have sort of always been on and is very aligned with me, this multicultural view of spirituality and life and etc, etc, etc. So I very much value Benabel in creating this deck. I very much value the energy of it, and it's what I found, you know, and I talk to my friend about this a lot, which is, well, we talk about it, which is that it's very, when I pull cards from this deck, which I work with Benabel's Book of Readings. So far I have done a little bit on my own, but not very much. I'm very excited to continue sort of discovering it as I work with it on my own. But sorry if you can hear that, I'm just kind of dropping them into the box. But I got the Hierophant for the next chapter of my life. So that has been a very interesting one. Oh, and look what comes next. The Vagabond. Oh, and look what also comes next. The Necromancer. Anyway, what me and my friend talk about is the fact that I feel this deck as being very affirmative. So like, I'm going to heat up some water so you can hear that. But it definitely affirms. So it'll like answer, like, let's say the question is like, oh yeah, the next chapter of my life. It'll be like, yeah, that's this. And you'll be like, oh my God, it totally is. But it will absolutely just blow out of the water your current understanding of what that card means, of how it will affect you. Well, because it expands your view of the card, it absolutely expands your view of how that energy is showing up in your life. So it affirms and expands. So it feels like such a beautifully resonant, a beautifully resonant deck. Like I feel like it's all about resonances in a way. And so, what was I going to say? Speaking of spreads, and readings and stuff like that. So Benabel has the book, where is it? Do I have it? This is her book of readings that we've been working on. So this got all that. And this is the book of maps, which is the optional but accompanying guidebook to the deck, which is humongo, but it's amazing. But yeah, speaking of readings, I love her readings, and I've actually been sort of digging into and diving into my propensity to create my own spreads, and part of the work of the new Word of the Year stuff has been me exercising that muscle and creating more spreads, and that's been really, really, really exciting. Like the last few days I've been working on the summer ones that I'm going to, you're not going to see it for another year, but the summer Word of the Year guides. And so for the first one, I decided it to be about intensities and contrasts, and which maybe could tell you a lot about what's going on right now. So this is early summer around intensities and contrasts. And so I created 4 spreads for that guide, depending on 4 options at the end. So there's questions, there's and then you get to the end and it's like, okay, so which one of these do you feel like is most resonant for you? And so based on the one that you pick, there's a spread that corresponds to that. And so I've been having a lot of fun creating and channeling these energies and questions and inquiries into spreads of my own. And I'm really excited to share them. If you've seen my video on the Thoth princesses, that'll give you a really good look at how I sort of construct spreads and, you know, the methodicalness with which I do it. And I really love it. I'm very much into the shape behind it. As I was talking to my friend, I was just telling her about it, and it made me realize, she said that the ritual is really important, and that's so true. I feel like the spreads that I create and the readings that I hopefully want to offer are very much rituals. There's an order, there's a flow to it, and there's a shape of where the energy moves and how it moves, and I'm very specific about that, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But and also, speaking of things that I create, I will quickly brew up another batch. I've been working quite a bit, not quite a bit, but it's come up inside. No, quite a bit. I find myself, whenever I'm working with other decks, wanting to work with, oh yeah, I've realized my light is on. That's why you're probably getting a little bit more of a golden light. What do we think, actually? Let me see. Is that nice? What do you think about that? Is that going to bother you? I kind of want to keep it like that. Sorry. But speaking of things that I create, I've been working with my deck, speaking of sorries as well. So this is my deck, the Mosaic Oracle, the Oracle based on the words that I chose to represent 2024. So in every year I make the guide, you've probably heard me say this 100 times. I make a guide and I choose a bunch of words that feel like the energy of that year, the words that I'm drawn to, words. I'm a wordsmith. I love words. I'm a writer. So this has all the words, and for all the words, I found pictures, and I worked painstakingly to figure out which pictures go with which word. And so I've been wanting to, I originally wanted to offer this deck on Make playing cards in the beginning of the year, but as you've seen, like, my flow has been very different and unpredictable. And so I do want to apologize for anybody who has been, I haven't heard anything, but if you have been waiting on this deck, or just been like, hey, like, what's going on with that? You said you would do it. I do want to apologize for the delay on that. I am feeling quite motivated as I've been working with it to complete that process. Just working online with putting a deck up it's just an unfamiliar process to me, and so it's, with the executive function, it's been hard to sort of, complete that task. And so, and a little bit of like, well, it doesn't always show up at the top of my to-do list. So yeah, I'm sorry about that if this has been something that you've been looking forward to, or just been curious about that I haven't, given any updates or posted it, which I really hope to soon. I'd like to, hopefully by the end of the month, but I'm trying not to put any deadlines on anything, so that way I, don't disappoint or, say anything that I can't, put my full weight behind. So it will be out at some point. If you are interested, let me know in the comments below if it's something that you would like to, have sooner rather than later. If I know where the interest is at, and, I might put a kick in the whatever, So anyway, this is my deck. This is Mosaic, and I really love it. And this year I went with the full, I'm not a big fan of big oracle cards, but I got a trump size and an oracle card size, which I just wanted to try out. And I'm kind of really glad I got the oracle size one, even though, with my little hands, I don't often really enjoy a 3x5 deck. Not that I don't enjoy it. It just ends up being more cumbersome than, tarot size. So I get annoyed with it, I guess. But I kind of really like it. So it's been really fun. Look at the animal card. I love it. So, ooh, and the immaculate card. I could sit here all day. Anyways, I actually, it's so funny. I literally recorded, when I first got the decks, I recorded like a first impressions and presentation of the decks. And I never released it because I wanted to release it when the deck would be available, but that'll come. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. I think 3. I could bust out more. I won't show it to you. I have been drawn, but I haven't picked it up yet. Because I don't know fully what the purpose behind it is. I have been drawn to bust out the Thoth to work with, or the Toth as I sometimes say. But yeah, I haven't fully figured out what that looks like. I did pull out a card for meditation, path working, journeying stuff. Oh yeah, that's it. That's it right there. And I got the Knight, was it the Knight? Or the Knight of Cups. Is that the one with the peacock? Anyways, to sort of meditate with, which I only did once. I want to come to it a couple of times to really sit with it and see what I see, get what I get, witness what I witness. So maybe I'll give an update on that. But that's been one that I want to pull out. The dirt gems has been one that has been calling to me. There's a few cards missing because I wanted to create. I've decided to get on TikTok. I'm already on Instagram. If you don't know my Instagram, I'll link it down below. It's really a catch-all place for like my creativity, my personal blog, personal, not personal, but you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the one place for me, my art, my tarot, my stuff, So I'll link it below. But I also decided that I want to get on TikTok. And so I wanted to create a little TikTok thing where I share about, or really where I work with and talk about plants. And I thought this deck would be a great one to start with and to sort of pick a few for an energetic, like a season. So I wanted to do one for June. And I think maybe it'll really be one for the summer where I talk about what's written in the guidebook and really kind of channel a message that sits in alignment with that plant for me. And so that's something that I want to do, that I'm in the midst of working on. I'm really excited about seeing that come together. So those cards are actually already removed. They're up in my studio, office, etc. space. So I'll be intrigued to share that when the time comes. But yeah, I love the dirt gems. It's my end all be all so far plant deck. Nothing will hit the spot like a black deck with plants on it. Like, I mean, come on. Which is now available mass market. So check it out for sure, Z's. I'm glad I was able to get the indie version. When I did, there was like barely any available, and I found it at like a shop. I don't know if it was in Mass, but it was definitely in like this East Coast New England area. So I was able to get that last year. I'm really happy about it, but I'm so glad it's mass market as well because I want to recommend it to everybody. I love it. But I think, okay, these are our last two. And this may not be surprising. So I wonder what energy you're getting from these decks. I love that I decided not to really like fully plan out and like determine what I was seeing and rather just talk about the energy and see what comes up. These are all kind of out of order. This is the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck by Kim Kranz. This is her newest, I believe, deck. And I actually decided to pull, geez Louise, I decided to pull a bunch of these at the beginning of the year, ones that felt resonant for my year. And I fell off the train of like going through them one by one. I have them all, where is it? I have them all marked in the book. As you can see, they're all marked there. And so I will be going through them, but I've picked it back up to go through them. Some of them I've already done a few, but less than I, probably should have by this point, almost halfway through the year. But yeah, so that is that, which I believe, no, Against Nature is not one of them. But so I have them all listed and I'm going to go through them and I have them all marked. The reason why it's taken me quite a while is because I have to, but I don't want to go through the guidebook physically. Like I don't want to mark up the guidebook per se. I don't mind that, generally speaking. But what I wanted to do and what I've done for the ones that I have completed, which is I kind of go into the guidebook and I make a copy of it and then I print it out. So that way I can fully mark it up on like a larger piece of paper, notes, maybe create a spread, whatever like comes to mind. So yeah, that is the Wild Unknown Alchemy. I feel like there's very much in abstract spiritual nature to what I'm up to. But that's very common for me. I'm not a pragmatic person per se. I'm not very much but I tend to be more comfortable and more drawn to the more abstract, metaphoric realms. And so that's kind of where I've been sitting. me and my friend just talked about how like June has definitely felt like a time of like bigger movement, intense movement, change, and things like that. I'm just checking the temperature on this water to see if I could brew another one. Yeah, so it's definitely felt like that. And for that reason, I did feel the need to pull out a deck to really help me deal with the feels. And I don't know if I've mentioned this recently, but with this deck, I feel like I've kind of not fallen off, but I've had a little bit of a hard time with it, just feeling like sometimes I struggle to read. I think it's the court cards. Like I don't mind. I like what's been decided, what's been done with them, but I think sometimes they're not as intuitive as I'd like them to be. And maybe it's because I haven't really sat with them very much, or at least enough to fully grasp the connection that the creator has made with them. And this is, you know, as I'm chitty-chatting about it, it's the Gentle Tarot. These are the backs. I don't think I've shown the backs for any of the other decks. But yeah, this is the Gentle Tarot. And so I had to pull this baby out because, oh man, I was dealing with a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions. And I was just like, you know, there's other decks that are gentle, but this is the Gentle Tarot. And I need a moment of gentleness for myself. I've been having feelings about the three of thunder. Oh, thunder is good. Thunder is good. I've been having feelings where I'm like, is it the card of evolution? Because, just a quick tangent, you know, sit with me here. I tend to view this as, like, the heartbreak. I don't, yes, like, obviously, like, because it's not the suit of emotions. Like, it's not the suit of emotions, it's the suit of the mind, right? And with thunder, it's the number 3. It's, for me, it's about change. And there's a newness to it. And so I always think about it as, like, a new idea or new information that changes your mind, but changing your mind often hurts your heart. And that's a lot of how I think about it. I mean, in a more positive sense, changing your mind could be like, whoa, new ideas, amazing, inspirations. But it could also feel like rock your world. Like, that's not how I like to look at that. No, I don't want to change my mind on that one. I would like it to stay exactly where it's at. So the heartbreak really comes from, and you know, I always think of it like breakups and stuff, right? Like if you break up, your heart's broken. But it really is, it's a new, there's an unknown, there's a new chapter, there's new information. Whether the new information is that this is not working out, new information is that somebody did something they weren't supposed to do. Whatever the new information is, or the change in mindset, which is I'm with this person, now I'm not with this person. I live here, now I don't live here. I thought this, now I don't think this. I didn't know that, and now I know that. You can't unknow it. It sort of, it has no choice but to affect your emotions. So even though it's not a card of emotions, it inevitably affects your emotions, just like all the swords cards do. You know, they all affect your emotions, just like all the cards, all the things. But anyways, the reason why I say of evolution, because I'm just like, is it not that constant pain of evolving? Like, you know, I don't even know if there's nothing else I want to say about that. So that's it. That's all my thoughts on the matter. But yeah, I had to pull out the Gentle Tarot because a bitch needed some gentleness and some love and some affection and some quietness and some nature and some animals to really, I think it really was the animal aspect and the fact that it was tarot. I really wanted that structure of tarot, but I also wanted the sweetness of this deck. This definitely, I think it's just because it's not always a comfort deck for me, but you know, in times when it is, it is. So I will show you actually a few of the cards that I did actually get. Sorry, sometimes I don't be so good at showing the cards, but I'm just gonna show you as I brew up my next brew. I've been very intuitive today about my brews. I'm not gonna lie, I usually use a timer, so that way I like to have even brews throughout. Ooh. But I don't always, because sorry. Anyway, these are the cards that I did get. There's a couple that I want to go through all of them. I've gotten the Hierophant quite a bit with this card. So I got this, wait a second. Does that not have some similarities there, no? To you? Intriguing. And, well, here's another 2. The cormorant. So I've gotten that card quite a bit. I ran out of storage on that card. Anyways, I got this wonderful freaking card right here that is absolutely badass. But here's another rainbow. More. There's a lot of rainbows in this deck, which makes it really good. Sorry, I have that card on the bottom there, but a lot of rainbows in this deck, which I really like. And then we got the Root of Wands, which, if we think about this in terms of the princesses, which I always do. I'm always thinking about the princesses. Because they changed my life. The princesses changed my life. They changed the way I see this card. And so immediately when I think Root of Wands, I'm thinking Princess of Wands. And I love her. I fucking love her. She inspires me. I think she's like my life inspiration. Like I'm the prince, like, you know, my first, significator was the Page of Cups. So for me, I feel very much in the cups, you know, and I'm a water sign, etc. But the Princess of Wands, I'm going to pull her out actually, because this will be where I maybe end the video, because I do have to end the video at some point. But yeah, I feel like she's like what I'm aspiring toward. And in a lot of ways, not what I'm aspiring toward, but maybe this process that I feel like I'm constantly in, that I definitely feel like I'm in right now. Yeah, I don't know. But I started to look up the animal on that card, and it's definitely a little bit of a study that some research that I want to do about it. As I've just, you know, more and more on my path, I find myself connecting more with animals and animal energy, which is really interesting, because one of the words for 2024, where is she at? She's second to last in this deck. She almost didn't want to be found. Which there's an animal on this card, which I still also intend to do a video on Thoth and the animals in the deck. So a lot of videos that I intend to do that will come eventually. But yeah, I love her. I just love her. I love her so much. I love her. Yeah, I feel like I'm in this process a lot of the time with this altar, this tiger, this passion and vulnerability. But as I said, animal is a word for 2024. And I think it's definitely a summer word for sure. Yeah, I'm very... Wait, this is not the princess. Oh my gosh, it's not. Is it not? Now I have to find out. It's not. I don't think it is. This whole time I'm talking like I know something. It's not. The Seed of Wands is the page. This is not the page. This is the prince or knight. Depending on how you look at it. Now that changes everything. Changes everything. What am I even saying? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay, well, okay, right. Completely just shift that. It's so funny because as I was looking through the deck, I was looking at the other Wands court card. And so, really intriguing. So if you're looking at it from a knight perspective, this would be the knight. But if you're looking at it from a prince perspective, which honestly, I think I said in one of my Thothtober videos how I felt about, you know, doing that transfer between, you know, how I see the court cards, especially the knight, prince, king situation. I'll have to look into these. I guess maybe that's why I have the Thoth out. But yeah, let me know what you read from this energy. I find, you know, a lot of fiery energy, as you can see. So yeah, we have these two friends here. I would say fire and earth. Even in my reading with the Dream of the Nile, I also received not only multiple fire cards, but also a couple of earth cards. So I'm intrigued by that. What I meant to mention earlier too was that when it came to the mediatrix, I pulled one card from my deck and I got hum. So these are the cards that represent the energies that I have been experiencing over the in this season at this time, decks that I'm drawn to, kind of what's been going on. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Definitely, I'm so intrigued to hear your thoughts about anything that I talked about. Yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this, and you know, where are you at right now in this season, in this month, these days? Feel free to share in the comments below. Oh, there's one last thing that I wanted to mention that I had been working with, which is the clairs and clairaudience, and really sitting with the fact that this is something that comes quite natural to me, especially when I'm reading cards. I often will hear, you know, the message in a very succinct sentence. And so I've been really trying to open my inner ear throughout my days, and really listening and taking notes on that, noticing what, you know, songs that come into my head, things like that. And so it's been quite a lovely journey in that regard. You know, I'm still exploring. It's always an exploration for me. I find that I feel like I've always felt that I'm a lifelong student, as we all are, but I find myself constantly in study mode, constantly in learning mode, and just being excited about the things that I'm uncovering and discovering. And I never want to take a break from that. Like, I never, which I often, you know, I need to, but I usually don't want to take a break from learning. I always want to do that. And so I think maybe I want to close with a card, and I'm going to work with the word only version of the mosaic. Not always, but the last 2 years I try to create a word only version. So with all the words, which I chose a lot of words this year, as you can see. Usually I don't choose this many, but I think this year I chose like 56 or something, like 54. I don't know. But, oh, and this just caught my eye. This is on my altar space that I'm recording on. This is a pin that I got for the White Lotus. Now I'm doing a makeup for the White Lotus Elemental Tarot, which is an Avatar The Last Airbender deck I've shown on the channel before. And I won't tell you what this represents, because if you want to watch the show, you should definitely watch it. But as you can see, you can kind of tell what it is, but that just caught my eye. I think maybe it has a little something to do with the energy at this time. Definitely a sense of polarity and integration, but also challenges and obstacles and big things. Ah, look what card comes out. Mosaic. For me, the name Mosaic just made sense. It's not something that I fully even understand. And on the bottom of the deck we have, come on, do it, chord. And so yeah, Mosaic just came to me. It wasn't something that I chose consciously or really understood why. But for me, it was really it was about integration. It was about taking these, you know, broken pieces or disparate pieces and putting them together into this beautiful image. And an image that tells a story, that represents something that has a new life of its own. Definitely there's a lot of rebirth going on, and at the bottom of the deck we have chord. For me, I think of harmony and just harmonizing the, I don't want to say disparate, but maybe the cacophony that we are hearing. It feels quite intense, but we are trying to find the harmony within it all. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I love you dearly, and I'll see you in an upcoming video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Bye.